Welcome back to Flying Tiles. I'm so glad to have you here. Today we're going to be looking at the Winds and Dragons section. The structure of these hands are quite diverse, but they're not very flexible. Winds and Dragons have some of the easiest hands, such as line 3, 4, and 5. They also have some of the most restrictive and exact hands, like lines 6, 7, and 8. A player usually chooses this category based on what they're dealt in the Charleston. So if you don't see Winds and Dragons going around, most likely somebody's playing that hand. Winds and Dragons category is a commitment category, which is driven by tile availability, not flexibility. In other words, if the wind tiles disappear, your hand disappears. A commitment to this category should not be an emotional one. It should be one made by informed decision. So let's take a look and see where else the Winds and Dragons show up on the card. So we have it in the 369 section. So we have the dragons in the third hand down, and we have news in the fourth hand down. If we look at singles and pairs, we can see it in the first line there. And that's the only line in the singles and pairs. So moving on to the quint section, we have it in the third hand down. There's actually no wins in this section this year. Moving on down to the next category, which is consecutive runs, there are actually no wins. There's no news in the consecutive run. We only have one line with two hands that have dragons, and that's the fifth hand down. Looking at the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 category, we have a lot going on. The third line down has north and south with odd numbers. The fifth line down has a Kong of dragons in little odds and big odds. Then as we move on down to the ninth hand, the closed hand, we have a Pong of dragons. Let's look at the first panel with the 2026 category. We have two lines here. We have dragons on the second hand down, and then we have news on the fourth hand down, which is an exposed hand, not a concealed hand. So there's two Winds and Dragons hands on the 2026. We move into the 2, 4, 6, 8 category. And here we have the East and the West. That is the third line down. So the East and the West go with even numbers. And then on the fourth hand down, we have two Pongs of dragons. And as we move on down to the sixth hand, we have two single dragons. So Winds and Dragons are nicely mixed through the 2, 4, 6, 8 category. Okay, let's look at the last one. Any like numbers. And again, there are only dragons in this category, no wins. We have 3 single dragons in the second hand down, and we have a pair of dragons in the third hand down, all exposed hands. Because there are single dragons sprinkled throughout the card, discarding a dragon is really never that safe. So if you know for sure you're not going to be doing a dragon hand, it's a good idea to discard those dragons as soon as possible. Okay, let's look at the first line, which we have two hands here. No pairs and only made up of the wind tiles. It's exposed for 25 points. I showed the first hand and second hand separately because I didn't have enough wind tiles. So we have Kong, Pung, Pung, Kong. And each tile block, you can have a joker. So there are no pairs and no singles. This hand appears easy, and that's true if you have enough wind tiles and perhaps joker tiles too. I am creating the second hand on the first line, which it just switches up the Kongs and the pairs. So the north is a Pung, the east is a Kong, the west is a Kong, and the south is a Pung. Again, all those tile blocks you can have jokers. So between those two hands, you can toggle back and forth as far as pivoting. When creating this hand, you have to keep your Pung and Kong straight. So you have to either be doing the hand where the Pungs are on the ends and the Kongs are in the middle, or the Kongs are on the ends and the Pungs are in the middle. And every single tile in these two hands can be replaced with a joker. We are looking now at the second line down, the second hand. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, Pung Pung of dragons, and then a Kong of dragons. Let's read the parentheses. Any four consecutive numbers, I'm saying that again, in any one suit. So all those numbers have to be one suit, and then any 3 dragons. And when they say any 3 dragons, they mean any 3 dragons. It's an exposed hand, and it's worth 25 points. Here we have it laid out in tiles. So that first 4 tiles, the single tiles that are consecutive, those are singles, and they all have to be the same suit. I used 5, 6, 7, 8, just to let you know it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have a pung of dragons, another pung of dragons, and a kong of dragons. No jokers in that first 4 numbers, in those first 4 tiles. Also, that kong of dragons does not have to correspond to those 4 consecutive numbers. It can be any dragon. It's just because the National Mahjong League only used 3 colors on their card. So they used blue 2 times, and it just happens that that kong of dragon is the same color as the 1, 2, 3, 4 or the consecutive runs. But when it says any dragons, it can be any dragons, any combination of dragons. They can go anywhere. And in the pung, and kong, any tile in those tile blocks for the pung and the kong can be replaced with a joker. Either all of them can be jokers or one can be jokers. It doesn't matter for the pung and the kong in this hand. You cannot use a joker in those first 4 single tiles. That's a big no-no. We are looking at the third hand down, and here we have our north and south combination with the odd numbers. Let's read the parentheses. Any like odd numbers in any 2 suits. It's exposed, and it's worth 25 points. We are looking at the hand laid out in tiles. So we have our pung of north. We have our kong of odd numbers, kong of the other like numbers, and then a pung of south. This hand is often played, and what I really like about this is I like the like numbers, but you actually only need 2 suits. You don't need to have all 3 suits. And again, this is another hand where all the tiles can be replaced with a joker. There's no pairs and there's no singles. These hands often get built fairly quickly as well. The north and the south, and then the east and the west, which we'll be moving into next. And let's take a look. So we're on the 4th hand down, and let's read the parentheses. Any like even numbers in any 2 suits. It's exposed, and it's worth 25 points. Here I have them laid out in the tiles. So we have our pung, kong, kong, pung. And the east and the west, they go with even numbers, and I chose 8. So I have a kong of 8 bams and a kong of 8 cracks. All these tile blocks are very joker friendly. Again, this is another go-to hand, and it's quite easy to build, and oftentimes people build these very fast. These are very straightforward, just don't get the numbers mixed up. Okay, we are looking at the 5th hand down. We have a pung of flowers, a kong of winds, a pung of flowers, and a kong of dragons. Let's read the parentheses. Any wind, any dragon. It's exposed, and it's worth 25 points. And when they say any, they do mean any. This hand has nice, clean, obvious shapes. And every tile block is joker friendly. So every tile in this hand, including the flowers, can be replaced with a joker. So we have a pung, a kong, a pung, and a kong. And flowers in a pung, kong, quint, or sextet can be replaced with jokers. That's not a problem. As well as the dragons, those tiles can be replaced, and the winds can be replaced with jokers. This is a nice, simple hand, and it's hard to play it incorrectly. You just have to make sure that you have the needed tiles, that you don't have any gaps, because this is a hand that it is difficult to pivot out of. And of course, this is one of the hands that is making the flower tiles very valuable this year. And you can have the 2 pungs of flowers, they can all be jokers. That's not a problem. And I'm just switching up the dragons, because you can have any winds. They don't have to be north there, that first kong. They can be north, east, west, or south. And the dragons can be any dragons. We are looking at hand 6. This is a fun one. This is a new one. A lot of people have been playing it this year. I haven't played it yet. So let's read the parentheses. It says, any one suit, these numbers only, it's exposed, and it's worth 25 points. I'll be showing you the tiles laid out, and I want to say that there is actually a mistake in this hand that I'm showing in the tiles. I'll give you a little bit of time to see if you can find it. Okay, so the first 3 tiles there, those are single tiles. So I have a 4-bam, a north, a 5-bam, pair of east. I have a single 6-bam, pung of west, a single of a 7-bam, and then a kong of south. Have you found the mistake? I'm going to be moving into the hand that shows it correctly. Well, if you guessed it was the number tiles I used, you're correct, because the parentheses say these numbers only, which means you can only use 1, 2, 3, and 4. I used 4, 5, 6, 7. You cannot do that. You can use 1, 2, 3, and 4 in any suit, in any one suit. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 have to be the same suit. So you have 1 north, 2 east, 3 west, and 4 south. So those numbers correspond with the following tile block. Kind of fun, kind of clever. And people really like this hand. They've been playing it a lot, at least when I've been playing with other people. This hand has come up quite a bit. So now we're going to be looking at line 7. Line 7 has 2 hands on the one line. Let's read the parentheses. Any 2 dragons. This line is an exposed hand worth 25 points. So let's see what this looks like when it's laid out in tiles. This is a pair heavy hand. We have pair, kong, kong, pair, pair. There's 3 pairs, north and south with the 2 pairs of dragons. And then we have east and west with the 2 pairs of dragons. And both hands, of course, have the pair of flowers. The only difference in these 2 hands is that the north and south have to be paired together as the 2 kongs, and the east and the west have to be paired together as the 2 kongs. And again, the jokers can only be used in the kongs, and all the tiles in both those kongs can be replaced with a joker. So the whole kong can be a joker, or you can just have 1 joker, but the jokers can only live in the kongs in this hand. The pairs of dragons have to be different dragons too. We are at the very last line, line number 8 in the Winds and Dragons. This is a closed hand. So let's read the parentheses. So it says 2026, any one suit. And again, closed hands worth 30 points. And you can only use these winds in this formation. It's the same with the line 7 above that as well. In this category of winds and dragons, line 5 is the only one in which you can choose any wind. Okay, so let's look at what the tiles are in this closed hand. So we have pair, pung, single, 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 4 singles, pung, and pair. So there's a lot of singles and pairs, and that's why they made it a closed hand. And you can use any suit in the 2026, but the 2026 has to be made up of all of the same suit. You cannot mix the suit when you're creating that 2026. And this again is where the white dragon or the soap is actually a 0. It's not a dragon here, it's a 0. And I'm just trading out the tiles to show that in those 2 pungs, you can use all jokers. So because those are the only areas you can use the jokers, everything else is singles and pairs. This can be a hard hand to make. And also in singles and pairs, remember, you can call a discard only for your last tile for Mahjong. You cannot expose those 2 pungs. They have to stay concealed or closed. We have finished with the winds and dragons section. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I see them. Thank you so much for stopping by. I so do appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.